Hello everybody and welcome back to Creativity in Progress. This is episode 9. It is currently Easter bank holiday weekend, so I hope you're all eating lots of chocolate. I did not intend to be working and recording this episode on this Sunday. However, I am going to be taking a couple of days off next week, so I thought that I would try not to stress out about that, because I don't know whether you're like me, but I really get stressed out about taking time off or taking time away from the business. Even if it's just a day or two, I feel like I need to be doing some piece of work all the time, or at least like touching base with the business. I'm not very good at taking time off, at the detriment to my own sort of like sanity sometimes, but especially at the moment. I don't know whether you've seen it online, but I'm working on this coloured pencil tiger piece, which I'm really happy with. It's coming out really well, but as it's a piece that's just for me, for my own personal development and not for a masterclass or not for a client or anything like that, then I tend to get in my head about it a bit more, because I'm like, I need to get this finished so I can get back to making like masterclasses and things like that. So yeah, I'm very much like stressing out about work a little bit at the moment, but at least I'm back. I say I'm back, but I'm actually genuinely, I'm going to say it, I'm actually really proud of myself for staying this consistent with this podcast, because yeah, as I've said many times in the past, like, I tend to get in my head a lot about certain things, and I get an idea, run with it for a few weeks, and then I get too overwhelmed. And again, like last week, I was having a really bad sort of skin flare up. My skin's no better at the moment. It's really, it's not affecting me, but it bugs me. But I'm like, no, I'm gonna be a brave girl. I'm gonna put some makeup on, and I'm gonna come on camera, and I'm just gonna have a very candid chat with you today. And the chat that I want to have with you is actually, it was a suggestion. Well, it wasn't a suggestion. I got a message the other day from one of my lovely followers who said that they were very bravely going to be trying to go full-time with their artwork within the next year, and they were very scared but also very excited. And I think so many of us can relate to that feeling. And she asked me what my top tips were for going full-time, and I kind of read that message and was like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't know. I kind of read that and was like, I've got no idea. Obviously, I have a lot of ideas, but I was kind of thinking that message reply would have been about 300 pages long. So I thought, what a great idea it might be to put my little bits of advice or little sort of like tidbits into a podcast episode, and therefore hopefully it will not only help her but also help some others, or some of you as well. So with that in mind, today's episode is going to be about how to go basically full-time, or my top tips for going full-time with your artwork. Now, I have written some very loose notes, bullet point notes here, but I really want to not follow them that much, because I feel like it would be too structured, and I feel like that's not the best way to kind of conduct this. And I also don't want to give it like a title of 7 tips that is going to help you go full time, because I don't really know. I just want it to be a very casual, candid chat about the things that come to my head as I'm talking you through this, because I think that's going to be the most raw and authentic version, rather than it being too structured or anything like that. And then, this is going to be my very raw, sort of unfiltered advice, I think. Obviously, if you are considering going full-time, this isn't a plug, but this is just a sort of a little suggestion as well, is I have got, I have talked about it on a previous episode, but a couple of years ago I set up the Creative Business Guide, which was like almost like a secondary business to the one I have now. And it was basically helping artists monetize themselves and teaching them marketing techniques and things like that. And there was an ebook, a free ebook, and also an ebook on there which covers a lot of content about going full-time with your artwork and the things to bear in mind. So that is available on my website if you were interested in giving that a look. However, these are going to be, as I said, my most raw and unfiltered bits of advice for going full-time, the things that come to my head straight away when I think about the transition of going and doing this. So I don't know your position. I don't know whether you're part-time, whether you're doing this in the evenings, whether you're sort of, it's a little bit of a side hustle or a little hobby, and maybe you want to take it a bit further. So these are the things that I would suggest off the top of my head without getting too in depth with anything. So my first things first, and the first thing that comes to mind when I think about this is you really do need to have a very, very good, strong and unwavering understanding of your finances. So I would suggest creating a spreadsheet. Now, I hate spreadsheets. My dad is an advocate. He absolutely loves a spreadsheet, and he made me do this. And to be honest, I am grateful for it because it is very, very helpful. But I cannot. I'm not an Excel girly. I am very much a pencil girly, and the idea of Excel just freaks me out. So, but yeah, create a spreadsheet, or even just like write down on a bit of paper, just write down exactly where you are at with your finances. So this would be things like your mortgage, your rent, any electricity bills, utility bills. And I really want you to take a deep dive into absolutely everything you spend money on in a month. So that could be even getting coffee. How many times a month do you like to go out and get coffee, or go for dinner, or buy new clothes, or get your car washed, or put fuel in your car, boiler service, car service. So many things that you need to factor in. So one of the things that my dad always said to me was put extra money aside each month for your house. So whether at some point you're probably going to need, i.e. your boiler service, so that's what, like £90. So how many, you break that down into 12 months, roughly that's going to work out at, I don't know, like £6-7 a month. So have absolutely everything down and break it down. Car insurance, and then obviously like a little bit of extra savings or a little bit of extra money. So work out exactly where you're at with your finances. When you've got that figure in mind, then it will be easy for you to get a really, really good understanding of, exactly where you're at. And when you first start with your business or any business, it is kind of expected to maybe take a little bit of a drop. And so look at that list. So maybe you can't afford to go get coffee as regularly as you were before, but ideally that is the amount of money that you would like to be earning from your income. I'm not just going to say on our income, but I just mean a general income for you to sustain your current state of living, your current living situation. So when you've got that figure in mind, then my next suggestion would be to try and create what I call a runway fund. So this could be 3 months. I always suggest 3 to 6 months. So get 3 to 6 months savings of that amount. So times that figure that you've got for that 1 month, times it by 3 or times it by 6, however much you are able to save. Because then if you go full-time with your artwork and you struggle to make any money for the first few months, at least you've got that in mind and you've got that in the back pocket. You've got that in your bank account. Ideally, you would be kind of creating enough money from your work, maybe a part-time job as well, your artwork and a part-time job, or however you plan on sort of transitioning to full-time. My neighbours are out there and it's really making a noise. It's so distracting when I'm trying to record this. Anyway, so get an amount of in mind, create the runway fund, try and save that amount because it will really, really help you take the pressure off. So if you aren't able to generate that amount of income that you've got on your spreadsheet from your artwork, in sort of the first few months, at least you've got some savings, and that's having those savings will help you take the pressure off. And when the pressure's off, then things tend to happen a little bit better. When you've got a lot of pressure on you, especially when you're in the first few stages of business, it can be really, really difficult. So again, try and take the pressure off, create a runway fund, try and save before you do go full time. And also just be very, very realistic about where you're at. Do you need to get a part-time job to help supplement your income? That's very normal. I worked in a pub for many years as I sort of transitioned slowly to a full-time. Also, if you know my story, you will know that I went back to work. I sort of took time out of the pub, then I went back, depending on how things were going. Another thing to be aware of when we are working with this business or in the creative field, you tend to have seasons. Summer for me was always a quieter season. Winter was with Black Friday and Christmas, it tended to be a season that I could push a lot more, and I'd make a bit more I'd make a lot more income at that month, and then I would have to sort of save that again, put most of that money into savings and save it for the summer, and that lasted me, or that carried on for a few years as I developed different income streams, which is something else that we come on to later. As I said, this is a very, very loose, candid chat about my sort of like advice without it being too structured. So first of all, get a really clear understanding of your finances and a Runway fund. I think that is the key part to this, and that will give you quite a lot of flexibility and freedom, and that would just help you create a very safe, it's almost like having a bit of a safety net, I guess. So the next piece of advice that I have I've got so many things I could say, but I think a support network is the next best thing. Really, really have the right people around you. Find the people who really understand you and your goals, and don't tell you to go and get a normal job. Who can support you, who can give you a hug when you've had a tough day and can tell you that it's all going to be okay and you've got this and they're proud of you. Because again, sometimes we can be very, very good at telling ourselves what we want, and but having someone else's like gentle words of encouragement can make all the difference when you're having a tough day. So just really try and be very selective over the people around you. My friend Jazz has got a very, very good apt way of saying what people are like, and she said you get two sorts of people in life. You either get your people who are radiators or they're drains, and I think that's really true. So you want to surround yourself by people who are radiators, who light you up, who make you feel positive about where you're at, who can help you, and are not unrealistic. They're not going to tell you, that everything's going to be okay and you're going to figure it all out. They're going to be real with you and tell you, do you know what? It's not going to be easy. It's really not going to be easy, but you've got this if you're consistent. And I feel like that's kind of where I want this podcast to kind of be a helping hand, because some of us, we don't have that support network. I definitely didn't have that support network. I had a family who didn't really understand my business. I was surrounding myself with people who generally didn't understand me as a person. And I think that's the whole purpose, another purpose that I wanted to create a community with this podcast, for people to feel less alone and to feel like they have got a place to come when they do feel like they're struggling and they want a little bit of a pick-me-up. And that's where I hope this podcast comes in handy. Try and get a little bit of a support network around you, and go and just stay true to yourself and the goals that you have in mind, and don't let anyone waver that, and don't let anyone kind of get in your way when it comes to what you want. So the next piece of advice I have is you need to be consistent and you need to be disciplined. It is not all going to happen overnight. I feel like with art, it is the long game. It really is. You will have to start off small. You'll have to start off slow. It depends what sort of business you want. Again, there's so many different fields of creativity and ways of being an artist. I obviously started as a commission-based artist, and I started by charging £20, and slowly over years it kind of picked up through social media, through putting my name out there, through doing bits of work here, bits of work there, by word of mouth, by putting my work into different shops. You have got to be a little bit brazen. You have got to put yourself out there. You can't hide behind your work. You need to be putting yourself on social media. You need to be showing your face. You need to be trying to, or putting yourself in the public sort of area, whether it's a craft fair, whether it's a trade show, whatever it is. You are your own personal brand, and you do need to be putting yourself out there. And that is scary, because a lot of us artists are really introverted. And even, again, the idea of me doing this podcast is terrifying, and putting my face on camera is just like horrendously scary. But I know that I have to do it because it's a whole part of business. And you will get people who maybe don't like you and don't like who you are and what you're about, but that's normal. I think the quote goes, you could be the juiciest, ripest peach, but not everyone's gonna like peaches, and that's true. So you've just got to try and put yourself out there in the best way that you possibly can, the way that feels comfortable for you. It's not always gonna come overnight. Again, confidence takes time. It's like a muscle. You have to exercise it, but if you are consistent and you are disciplined and you are determined enough to make this work, I promise you, good things will happen in time. But you have to be patient. you can't expect to be, go full time and start charging thousands for your work. It just doesn't happen like that. And you also need to be aware of your buyer and the market and the current financial situation that your country's in, or your buyers, your audience or your clients are in. What are they asking you for? Listen to your clients, because again, I think if I was being brutally honest with myself, I would really like to be doing some major equestrian pieces, exhibiting them all over the world, and and just being, going to the different races, doing some really big equestrian portraits, sort of hitting that luxury market. But I know that my head isn't there, and I've got to be real with myself. And I've tried to do little things like that. I haven't really pushed it that hard, but I know that I'm much better, and I feel like I'm a lot safer sat here with my pencils teaching. And I know that my teaching is benefiting so many people. And to be honest, it isn't the way that I thought my business would go, but I'm very happy it has. And I know that's what people would like from me. So again, I'm listening to my clients and I'm kind of going, well, or I'm listening to my audience and what they're asking for, and going, okay, well, I know that this is the right step for me and the business and for my clients. So you kind of got to understand where your niche is and understand the things that you're passionate about. For me, it's definitely horses, and that's the thing that I've built my business doing, and that's the thing that I teach when I teach a masterclass about how to draw different horses or different types of fur or anything like that. They're the classes that sell really well because it's what I'm known for. So this is almost like a little segue onto what is your niche. You don't necessarily have to stick to exactly one thing. You can expand it over time, but you do need to be very consistent and build up your portfolio in the thing that you love doing the most, because if you're passionate about doing that one thing, it will really, really help you in the future. So again, what is the medium you prefer, that you're most confident in? What is the medium that is your favorite thing to do? What is the subject matter that you absolutely love drawing, whether it's dogs, whether it's horses, cats, whatever it may be? It could be completely something else. But I think stick to that one thing. Get as good as you can with that one medium and that one thing. And from there, opportunities will come your way. And also, not only that, but your audience will get used to seeing that thing, and then you'll start to become known for that thing. So I'm most known for my coloured pencil horses. But obviously in time, I have been able to expand and do different things. I've been able to do a little bit of pastel work here and there, or I've been able to do different subject matters. But I think most people do know me for the horses. And that's, again, the thing that I'm passionate about doing the most. A little bit of advice, if you are going to go into a pet portrait, sort of the arena of pet portrait artistry, I would suggest trying to do as many different, trying to get a portfolio of as many different dogs or horses or cats as you possibly can, because people tend to only relate to what they find relatable. And what I mean by that is, say for example, I'd just built a portfolio of horses. I didn't have any other animals. People would only know me for drawing that animal. They wouldn't have any confidence in my ability to draw dogs or cats or animals or anything other than horses. So say you had someone who didn't have horses but they had 2 Labradors, they probably wouldn't come to me unless they saw that I had in my portfolio Labradors. So people can only relate to their like own relatability factor, I guess. So like for me with Charlie, if I wanted to go and commission an artist, I'd really want to see them do a spaniel before I commission them to do it, probably. So again, with that in mind, try and have a very broad portfolio within your niche of your medium and the subject matter. So, for me, I definitely have a larger portfolio of horses, but in time I've obviously expanded and gone a little bit into dogs, occasionally into cats. But again, I don't really get any commissions of cats because I haven't got many. I think I've got like 2 in my portfolio. So I don't really get that many commissions, whereas I know a lot of people who draw a lot of cats will always get cat commissions. So again, just think about your audience and also the sort of work that you want to be doing. And and really try and understand your customer. If you want to be more of a commission-based artist, then how can you be relatable to your client? How are you going to find them? Where are they residing? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? How can you make yourself as relatable to that person as possible? Do you have an animal yourself? Do you like to share your love for animals? It's difficult for me to kind of give examples or to share my own experience, because what's weird for me is I obviously like drawing horses, but I've never had my own horse. But I think that is, again, something that's the reason why I did start drawing them, is because I was never allowed my own horses when I was younger, so I just used to draw friends and family. So that's the story that I was telling behind the artwork. So again, I think it's like trying to understand your purpose and your vision, and actually what you want for your business and how you want your business to be, and obviously where you're going to find your clients. I think, whether you're putting yourself out there into, as I said, into country shows or craft markets, whether you're just going to stay online. Obviously with the online market, that's a lot more global. It's a lot easier to sort of network and market on there. But then again, sometimes people like to see the work in person. So there's swings and roundabouts to absolutely everything, and it just depends on your own personal beliefs and what you want. Build a solid, consistent portfolio is one of the notes I have, but I think I've kind of touched on that. And just, I think having a very, very solid routine. Obviously, I spoke about routines in last week's episode, but it is so important to have a routine in place and do daily things that keep you very, very consistent. So running this business and being an artist is hard. I can't tell you it's easy, because it's not. And you will have many days, weeks, possibly months where you think, what on earth am I doing, as you build it up. But if you have discipline in place and you have structure in place, and you can sort of say to yourself, do you know what, everything's going to be okay, I trust myself enough, and you have a really positive mindset, not an unrealistic mindset, you're not being delusional with it, but you kind of say, I trust myself enough to always come up with a solution and make this work. No matter what happens, I will always make it work. Then it tends to be a little bit easier. So I spoke about it last week episode, but you do things on a daily basis that really help you stay grounded. So whether it's a walk in nature, going to the gym, having a daily coffee, whatever makes you happy and gives you that little burst of excitement or joy, then that is going to be the thing. Those are the things that really going to help you stay consistent when you feel like your life is falling apart, when you're not really making as much money as you would potentially like. You're having a bit of a slower month. Just trust yourself and give yourself little things that are going to stop you experiencing the extreme highs and lows of life and business. I know that when I have a bit of a quieter month, first of all, that I've got enough experience in this now to know that it doesn't always stay quiet, that you do have quieter months, and that's okay. But I do try and in those moments think, okay, well, how can I push this a little bit further? So when you are going into starting a full-time business of any description, I would really suggest creating a bit of a mind map, and getting a whiteboard or a large bit of paper and sort of putting yourself in the middle and saying, okay, well, what do I love doing, and how am I going to make this work? What do I love doing? What is my ideal client? Who are they? What do they want from me? And how can I reach both? How can I do what I want to do, but also make this into a business that's going to serve an audience and serve a demand from clients? So bullet point or do a mind map and create as many different avenues as you possibly can, and really try and think outside the box. You don't need to just necessarily go, right, okay, I'm going to be a commission artist and that's all I'm going to do. Try and think of different ways to generate money. So for me, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Patreon, whether you want to teach, whether it's selling tutorials, whether it's doing commission work, whether it's going to craft fairs, trade shows, whether it's doing a podcast, whether it's going into a gallery, whether it's teaching in person workshops, whether it's going into homeware, or putting your artwork onto mugs or onto products or whatever it may be, try and bullet point as many different or create as many different areas as you possibly can. And I wouldn't say try and hit them all at once when you're first starting. Absolutely not. You really, because if you put your fingers into too many pies, you will just feel so overwhelmed and you won't know where to start. You don't know what's working for you, and it will just be very, very stressful. So pick the one that really speaks to you the loudest. I think many of us start with doing commission work because it's the thing that makes sense, because people love their animals so much and will always want to do, always want portraits of and pictures of them. You've got to remember that you will have to start slow. I started slow and at a very low rate of like £20, and in time as I got busier, obviously that gets it's like a popcorn effect. You can start get the ball rolling and start charging a lot more, but you need to be consistently booking out at the amount you're charging, and then you can up your prices. Again, it comes to staying consistent on social media, building that trust with your audience, with your social media following as well. So you don't, I think one of the things is, just stay very, very consistent online. Don't go through a week of posting and then don't post for 3 months, because again, people wonder, if you drop off, they won't know what's happened or where you are, whether you're still doing this. So again, just stay very, very consistent. When it comes to social media, again, bullet point the pros and the cons of each platform. Again, I'm going to do a whole nother episode on social media maybe next week. And whether it's Instagram, TikTok, whatever speaks to you the loudest, whatever makes sense to you, focus on that. Obviously, I think it's important to put yourself in as many different places as possible with this business, but the one that speaks to you the loudest, try and stick with that and actually look at what your competitors are doing. How are they marketed? Who are your competitors? How are they marketing themselves? How are they putting themselves out there? Are they being more personable? Are they putting themselves online? What sort of content are they providing? What response are they getting? What sort of artwork are they doing? Again, it's not about copying what they're doing, but it's actually just looking at others to get inspiration and ideas and saying like what works for them, what kind of doesn't work for them, and running with it from there. And yeah, I think trying to get a really good understanding of social media, of staying consistent, of building routines, of getting a financial baseline, of understanding actually the fundamental elements of business, such as paying tax, when is your tax due. Again, all of this content can be found on the Creative Business Guide, because I created so much content around that, both in the free ebook and in the other one as well. Obviously, with the mind map that you create about different potential business parts or parts of your business, from there you can go on to generating different income streams and trying to get sort of different ideas in place. But again, don't run before you can walk. Start slow, start steady. Good things happen in time. But again, you have just got to be very, very consistent and just don't expect it all to happen overnight, because it's really, really, it's a brilliant industry to work in. It's super rewarding. It gives you so much flexibility and freedom. And like for me, I absolutely love what I do, and I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. But again, I think back to the times when I very first started this business and how much it just seemed like it was the biggest mountain in front of me to climb, and I just didn't have a clue where to start. And again, I'm glad and I'm so grateful for everything that I went through and everything that I experienced, because it has made me so much stronger, and you will become so much more resilient. You can't be afraid to fail. Failure is literally the part of the process. You know, failure is an opportunity to learn, is an opportunity to grow from it. Embrace the challenges that this business will throw at you. But yeah, get a really, really good understanding. The thing is, I think most of us, when it comes to business, stress about finances. And I know it's a taboo subject, and it's a subject that a lot of people feel really uncomfortable talking about. But that is the whole point, as well as helping our mental health. most of us, obviously our business is all about working for ourselves and generating our own income. So when we are our own bosses, we really do need to be very, very clear about exactly where we're at, and taking some of that pressure off by working a part-time job, by sort of like just generating different sources of income. Look at different platforms, maybe like Etsy. Again, it completely depends on the sort of business that you want, whether you want to go down the more gallery route or whether you want to be a commissioned artist. Like, it completely depends. And these are questions that you're going to have to sit down and ask yourself, and kind of like understand exactly where you want to go and the things you want to achieve, and envision your future. Like, what do you want from your future? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What in an ideal world would you like from your business? Like, do a little bit of like mindset work as well. Shut your eyes and envision exactly how would you like your life to be with doing this business, and how do you think you can get there? And it is a little bit fantasy, is it fantasy, or a little bit like in dreamland? But again, it's that sort of like almost like that manifesting, kind of putting ideas in your head and if you get attached to ideas, then that's the thing that is going to help you drive forward. And I think the last piece of advice that I kind of want to offer is just don't take anything too personally. Not everyone, as I said, is going to like you. You will face rejection, you will face challenges, you will face adversities, you will get people that tell you no. Don't take any of it personally. Stay true to yourself, stay true to what you want and where you want to go. Envision that future, envision your life in 5 years' time, envision the business you want to have. What does your working routine look like? Why is it you want to go down this business, and why is it that you want to do this? When you connect with that part of yourself, it makes it a lot easier to stay consistent. And I think a lot of the time when we don't have that idea in mind, then we can flip between ideas, and we don't, we find it a little bit more challenging to stay true to ourselves and what we want. And the other thing as well is about when it comes to staying true to yourself. I spoke about it before, but don't look at social media and get too inspired. Stay true to all I can say, there's no other way of saying it other than stay true to yourself and actually what you want and your own self journey and the things you want to achieve, and don't let others sway you through the things that you see online. As I said last week or the week before, it can be really easy when we're having a low mental health day or week, and then we look online and we feel so inspired by other people. We go out and spend hundreds of pounds or an amount of pounds on an amount of money on different materials and try different things, and we just end up feeling more frustrated than we did in the first place. So just stay true to the person that you are, the artwork you want to achieve, and the business that you want to have. There is so much to unpack in this episode, and there's so much that I wanted to kind of cover. It does make it really difficult when there are so many things I could say, and I could honestly talk about this for hours, but I don't think that would be conducive, and I feel like I would just go round and round and round in circles. I've obviously covered quite a lot of different elements here, and if anyone would like me to unpack anything further or create a separate episode, then please let me know in the comments or send me a message, because again, I did cover a lot of different things very, very loosely in this episode. Well, not loosely, but I definitely did cover. I tried to get some top tips in, so if anyone would like me to expand on anything a bit further and create another episode about anything, then do let me know, because that's the whole point of this podcast. As I said right at the top, I would like this to be the support network that I never had, and I would like to be able to offer it to you. It's almost like a little bit of a comfort blanket when you don't necessarily know what you're doing, or when life feels a little bit lonely. You have got this podcast. And as I said the other day, I don't always want it to be necessarily that serious. Like, sometimes I might just come on here and have a bit of a catch up with you and just have a bit of a candid, casual chat. And again, it's weird for me because these episodes, I sit here and I do get like severe imposter syndrome, because I'm like, who am I to talk about things like this? And who am I to have to be giving advice on my top tips for going full time? And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. Like, I'm so winging this And I think, again, that is another thing to remember, is that 99% of people throughout life are just winging it, sticking ideas or throwing ideas at a wall and hoping that something will stick. And you have got to try, you've got to experiment, you've got to put yourself out there, and but most of all, you've got to stay consistent, and just be really true to yourself. And again, the baseline to all of this is get a really, really good understanding of your finances, because that is going to be the thing that will really help you stay settled. And yeah, that is my sort of airy fairy woo kind of chat with a very serious underlying part of, without getting an idea of your finances, that's going to be the thing that keeps you less stressed. But yeah, there is so much to unpack in this episode. It's been a little bit, it hasn't been a lot, I don't feel like it's been that heavy, but yeah, if anyone would like me to unpack anything further, then please do let me know. That's what this podcast is all about. But yeah, I hope you have a wonderful Easter, or whenever you're listening to this. I am going to go and do some more of my tiger now, which I'm very, very excited about. I'm going to be off for the next couple of days, which again, I'm very, very excited about, because, well, I say I'm excited, I'm also incredibly anxious, because as I said, I just don't like taking time off, and I find it really, really uncomfortable to not be touching base with the business. But yeah, it's going to be nice, it's going to be relaxing, and I'm excited. So with that in mind, I am going to say goodbye, and that I will talk to you again next week. And as always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for the amazing, positive, incredible feedback that I always receive from these episodes. I'm so glad they are able to help so many of you. And yeah, I'm just very, very grateful to have this space and for you guys to be listening, because it baffles me. Like, I sit here and I'm like, what on earth am I doing? But anyway, I will speak to you again next week. As always, take care, and sending you so much love. You've got this. I am so incredibly proud of you for taking this step on your journey, and I will speak to you again next week. Take care, and bye for now.